Greetings to thee, mortals of Midgard, and welcome to a right special episode of Kapow. I am the Lady Sonya.
And I am Al, weaver of tales and quaffer of mead.
When have you ever quaffed mead?
It was just once and it was horrible. Still, today is a day of celebration here at Kings Comics, wherein we pay homage to that most wonderful of gods, Thor the Thunderer.
That's right, sir. With the release of Thor the Dark World, we are delving deep into the mythos of one of Marvel's favourite sons. And hopefully dropping the Shakespearean these and thous, because they are at best confusing.
Yeah, it kind of hurts my jaw.
Yeah.
We will be discussing with Ray what we thought about the new movie, and we'll also be listing our top 5 Thor stories. Or stories, as I like to call them.
Seriously.
Yeah, and I've also got a joke for later, that's going to be great.
Great, that's something to look forward to. Meanwhile, I'll be having a chat with Ray about some pretty awesome Thor collectibles.
Cool. So, the joke. So this woman's at a party, right? And then she meets this guy, and he's wearing this hat with wings on it.
Oh, no,
and they get to talking.
No. I have heard this joke, and it is not appropriate. No.
Being a founding member of the Avengers is pretty much the most prestigious lineage you can have as a superhero.
Unless you're part of the Justice League.
Okay, put your Gotham away. We're doing Batman next week, today's all about Thor.
Yeah. And Thor truly is one of those larger-than-life characters. You know, he breaks all the rules that other superheroes live by because he's not just a hero, he's a god.
Yes, but a cool god who has an enchanted hammer and a chariot pulled by magical goats and a speechwriter who seems to get a lot of his material from Jacobean plays.
And hair that belongs in a Pantene commercial. Now, as always, it is hard to pick the best stories out of a timeline that's been ditching lightning at us for the last 50-odd years, but we're going to give it a go.
Absolutely.
So here they are, Kapow's top 5 Thor stories. Seriously, dude. At number 5, but in no particular order, we have The Mighty Thor, Volume 1. This volume has my heart mainly due to the creation of Beta Ray Bill, the first being since Thor and Odin who could wield the mighty hammer Mjolnir.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Walter Simonson was the first to take those words literally and introduce us to a character who could match Thor for power, determination, and overall worthiness. Fighting for the survival of his people, Bill throws down with Thor and comes out on top twice, leading to one of the all-time memorable Marvel team-ups.
And proving that you don't have to possess beautiful golden locks to wield the power of a god. This story may come across as a little dated due to its thought bubbles and the characters narrating everything they do, but it does stand up as one of the great Thor stories. Stop it.
There's also a great primer to be had for Loki Laufey's son in these pages. Along with Batman's rivalry with the Joker and Superman's with Lex Luthor, Thor is another hero whose arch-villain matches him more with cunning than with strength.
Which, rather neatly, brings us to our number 2 pick. Loki, a 4-part miniseries by Robert Roddy and Esad Ribic.
This one really strikes a chord with me. In a what-if storyline, we see Loki as Lord of all Asgard, looking back on his life with his enemies in chains all around him, including his half-brother Thor.
There's an almost Shakespearean tone to this story. You'd feel genuine empathy for Loki's doomed existence and gain a greater perspective for the intermingling of Marvel's Norse pantheon. There's not a lot of action in this volume, but it's no weaker for it. It's a genuinely moving story with amazing artwork by Ribic. Makes it a definite must-read.
Absolutely. Now, springing from the introspective to the action-packed, we come to number 3 on our list of stories. The Mighty Thor, Lord of Asgard. Far from the reign of Loki, Dan Jurgens, along with Stuart Immonen, Tom Rainey, Joe Bennett, and Dion Knuckles, shows us the result of Thor ruling over Asgard.
And it's equally as effective, as Thor slowly turns from hero to villain before being broken down and learning again what it is to be a god. There are some excellent throwdowns in this volume, with Grey Gargoyle and Dasak the God Slayer causing our favourite Thunder God some serious headaches. It's a pretty riveting read.
Next on the block, we have Roger Landridge and Chris Samney's Thor the Mighty Avenger. Catapulting us out of Asgard and into modern times, this volume presents a retelling of Thor's first days on Earth that makes him a great deal more human and approachable than previous stories.
It's a lot more humorous than a lot of Thor storylines as well.
Storylines.
Dear, I will gag you.
Okay, I'll stop.
Thor faces off against Mr. Hyde and Namor the Submariner and still finds time to fall in love with an Earthwoman. It's a real shame that Marvel cut this series because it is such a fun ride.
Absolutely. And now, as any of you out there who know how to count will have already guessed, this brings us to our final pick. J. Michael Straczynski's Thor. After the death of the God of Thunder, this volume brings him back to life and reunites him with his former host, Donald Blake. There's a lot of humour and a lot of pathos to this story.
And some excellent artwork by Olivier Coipel, including some of the most outstanding representations of Thor's unmatchable power, as he brings his lost comrades back to life and tries to make his mark on a world that has all but forgotten him.
So that is our top 5 Thor stories. But as always, there are bound to be some that we've missed that you guys just love beyond measure. So please let us know about them on Facebook.
Or on Twitter.
Or on the YouTube comments.
Yeah, and let us know what Norse-inspired comic awesomeness floats your longboat.
Yes, but to continue with my joke. So she goes home with this guy with the winged hat.
No, I told you it's not appropriate. Hey Ray.
Hey Sonya, hey guys.
So who is this lovely lady standing before us?
You know who it is.
Yes, it's Enchantress.
That's right, yes. But some of our Marvel fans out there might wish for us to specify that this is the original Enchantress, the sorceress Amora, not the young Sylvie Lushton who was granted mystic powers by Loki. This Enchantress statue by Bowen Designs stands at 12 inches tall and is sculpted by Mike Cusinelli. Sometimes a villain, sometimes a hero, sometimes a rival to Thor, and sometimes his lover. She schemes toward her own ends, making her one of Asgard's most enigmatic residents.
She is certainly vibrant, and I love the 60s inspired costume here. It kind of sets her apart from a lot of modern statues.
Yeah.
That metallic green of her top, the gold sleeves, and especially those rings travelling down her long, long legs.
Yeah, I quite like the costume too, and what Cusinelli has done with the skirt by just giving it a little flick, which just suggests that slight bit of movement together with the flowing hair. For a museum piece, I quite like this sculpt. It's subtle. Is she pointing at something or someone who she wants, or is she tormenting her prey?
Or is she casting a spell?
Or that, that's right. I do have a couple of points of contention though. For starters, one of her feet doesn't sit flush on the base, and I like the attempt to make an interesting base, but it just looks like some kind of chocolate-filled choc chip Delta cream.
But if you choose to get the Executioner companion piece, they kind of fit together, so it's not as noticeable.
Yep, that's a very valid point. Okay, but still, I'm not sold on her face. The expression is good. Beautiful? Yes. Clean sculpt? Yes. But something about her eye and forehead region make her seem a little androgynous. Do you see that?
Yeah, look, I can see what you're talking about, but, you know, she's another race. She's the Asgard. She's godlike. I think she's really beautiful. I really like her, so I'm giving her a buy.
Okay, well, I'm going to give her a borrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is that it for today?
No.
Ooh. Alright, how did you get this?
Well, Thor and I had a bet over a game of pool, and let's just say he shouldn't have used Mjolnir as a cue.
Mjolnir, you mean?
Mjolnir, that's what I said.
Mjolnir.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the Hammer of Thor prop replica, made directly from the Marvel Studios blockbuster film. It's a sweet 3 kilograms. The head is expertly handcrafted from aged steel, and the handle is made from wood and then finished with the appropriate aged harness-grade leather, which shows wear from its multiple battles. It measures 17 inches overall and includes a wood display base that holds the hammer at the same angle as when first discovered on Earth.
It looks amazing, and the workmanship on it is exceptional.
Yeah, and I love it when they use convincing materials to make the replicas. Yeah. Look, this is a pretty expensive piece, I must say, but this is the kind of item that you would put at the center of your entire collection. Or, let's say you're a movie buff, you could add this item to some iconic collectibles in your movie room.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, there was only 500 of them made, so that kind of adds a little bit of cred to that price tag.
Pretty cool, yeah. Look, I'm gonna give it a buy. Excellent design, and the craftsmanship as well is really, really good. Plus, it's a piece of memorabilia as well.
Yeah, look, it's a buy from me as well. Like, the small amounts of wear and tear on the hammer and the leather is such a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon if I throw it, it would come back?
You have to pick it up first.
Yeah, well. It's just a little stuck. It's just because it's a replica, it's just like the film, so only Thor would actually be able to.
So, what's more puzzling, Ray? The fact that I can pick it up and you can't, or the fact that you actually picked it up with its base like a minute ago? Oh, look, you can have it back.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So as you know, this is a Thor special. It's all built around Thor: The Dark World, and of course, we went to see it, and we're gonna tell you what we thought of this film. Sonya, you can start.
Okay, well, look, overall, I really enjoyed this film.
Yep.
I found it very entertaining. It was a little slow to begin with, I found.
Yes.
Really, for me, the highlight was when Loki popped up again. Yeah. That's when this film really just took off. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, before then it was just like they had to set the scene. It's like, quick, get all this information happening, and now we can bring in Loki and make it all cool again.
Yeah.
But, you know, Loki is amazing, and Tom Hiddleston I'm in love with, so, you know, it was always going to be a good thing for me. I did find the female characters in this, Natalie Portman and Kat Dennings' characters, a little lackluster.
Oh, yeah.
But to be honest, I found them a little lackluster in the first one as well. I think it's hard to play a human when you're playing against Thor and Loki and Asgard. Like, you're gonna come out boring.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with their performances. It's more to do with the writing of their characters.
Yeah, what the focus is, you know, sometimes they're exploring that relationship
Yeah.
almost a little too
little too
long.
long,
You know, just
yeah.
set it up, we know what it is, let's move on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't want a character who's just there to pine for Thor. I mean,
Yeah.
that undermines it to begin
It gets
with.
boring
Yes.
after
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, the action for me in this was great. Look, I'll admit I am a bit of a fantasy and a mythology nerd, so seeing these massive hordes of the Asgardians going up against Dark Elves, I'm sorry, that's awesome in my book. And the pan up into Asgard just made me just squee a little bit. It was brilliant. I loved it. But the highlight, as far as action is concerned, was Frigga's fight. Like,
yeah.
it's amazing. It's really cool to see a strong female character really get into it and really nail that kind of action and that kind of fight, especially
Yeah.
because it's Renee Russo. She's a bit older,
Yeah.
and she was superb. She's one of my favourite female characters in
She
this.
did do a very good job.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Overall, I did really enjoy this. It was so much fun. It was just fun.
It was fun. It was fun. Al?
Well, look, I enjoyed it as well. I found it interesting, though, that it kind of reversed my feelings on the first one.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah?
the first one, I was digging it, and then I felt that the end was a bit lackluster.
Yeah.
There needed to be a bigger fight
Yep.
at the end to balance it, because there was that massive fight with the Frost Giants at the start, so it just felt a bit unbalanced. This one went the other way. It felt quite a bit laboured, and
Yeah,
a lot of the
exactly.
lines were falling a little flat to
Yep.
start with. I was a bit concerned. Right up till, as you said, until Tom Hiddleston comes in and he starts kicking it off beautifully.
It's just lovely.
But that made me realise something that I hadn't really spotted about Hemsworth's Thor. You know, in the previous one and in the Avengers as well, especially, I hadn't realised that he can't really stand alone.
All right.
He doesn't work by himself.
Yeah.
Like, he needs a capering sort of character with
Yeah.
some funny lines to offset him, so he can throw in his sardonic one-liners.
That's
you know,
true,
right.
that's true.
He's adopted. That kind
That
of
kind-
thing. You know, but without that character to offset him, he's actually a little bit boring.
Yeah, a bit
Yeah.
flat.
You know,
Yeah.
he's just, I'm very sardonic.
Yes.
Very nonplussed by everything.
One tone.
And it just, without the offset tone, doesn't work as well. And I hadn't realised that until I saw him in this one opposite Loki.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that until then. So that was a surprise to me. But as long as you keep somebody good opposite him,
Yeah.
he's actually quite
Full
funny.
works,
And
yeah.
once we got to that point when Loki was kicking off, everything seemed to accelerate.
Yeah.
And coming into the end, I was actually really enjoying it. I was having a lot of laughs, a lot of great action, and I was surprised by how much I was enjoying it by the end. I do agree, though, female characters, Marvel's still not representing
Not
the
quite.
female characters well
I
enough.
know.
And that's a bit disappointing at this stage, that they're not giving them good enough roles. As you say, it's not about the performances,
No.
it's about the writing.
That's right.
No, that's right. I think the performances on the whole, I think, the female characters and the male characters are doing a heck of a lot to try and make so little work. And certainly script-wise, I thought there was a lot of elements to it that lackluster, and there's little character development to work with there often. But Hiddleston, Eccleston, all the Stons, they're all doing a magical job. Even of course Anthony Hopkins, when the lines he has to say are terrible, but
He
you know.
delivers it with conviction.
Yeah,
goes
he
for
does. He does, and times when you think it's going to be some kind of large performance. He just pulls it right back and just says something in a whisper instead, which it's really nice to see. Similarly with Natalie Portman, as you guys have both mentioned, what she has to work with is so little, yet she's really working hard, but at the end of the day, we don't really care about it. Action-wise, I don't know. I didn't really like much of the action, guys.
Really?
No, I thought it was a bit boring. Maybe it was. I keep expecting something new, but you know, the whole knocking people into things and flying into things. Maybe it's been done too much in things like Man of Steel that I don't know. I'm just so tired of seeing the same sorts of
What were you
action.
wanting Thor to do?
Yeah, he has a big hammer, man.
He's
Come
going to
on.
hit people.
Yeah,
in the air with
but
it.
I didn't even see the huge hit on the ground that sends everyone flying. He did it once, and you know, they moved, you know, maybe 10 meters instead of 50 meters. I don't know. I wanted.
You wanted more godlike action.
You wanted
did.
them to get smacked so hard that they saw the curvature of the Earth.
Possibly.
That's what I wanted to say.
yeah, create a new star or something. And humor-wise, I agree. It took a long time to wind up, and once it did, oh man, Marvel really does the humor well. Once they get rolling, you know, with the punches, the rhythm of things.
Yeah, momentum builds up. That really carries you along.
They're good at
That's
banter.
right.
Marvel's always been good at banter, having these characters do this quick little, and some of them.
And it wasn't as
they don't go
overplayed
anywhere.
as it was in Iron Man 3.
Yes,
which was
they pulled it back a bit, which is good to see.
Yeah. But overall, I didn't really enjoy the film. I thought it was fun fluff, definitely. But it's not the kind of film I would be seeing again. Just structurally, it was pretty poor, and there was just so much repetition of information I didn't want to hear and see again. I got that. Don't treat me like an idiot.
Yep.
I want to move on, please. There were 2 points in particular where people got the same information, and I thought that exposition could have been melded into one, and it would have made the story a whole lot cleaner.
Yeah.
That's just a little niggle of
I
mine.
can see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Move the story along faster. I can see that.
Yeah.
But essentially, though, the big question: is this movie going to satisfy Thor fans?
I think undoubtedly yes. It's not for me. I want something a little bit, a few more layers into it. But I think judging from everyone's impression walking out, people loved it. So
yeah, I do think that the people who love the first film are going to love this one. People who love Thor are going to be really happy with his representation. People who love Loki are going to be really happy with Loki in this, because he is the star of this. I'm sorry, Thor, but your brother's taken over.
Yeah.
But I do think generally fans are going to be really happy with everything that happens in this.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think it's really going to hit home with people who are just going in wanting to see some good biffo with a giant hammer. I want to see Loki doing his coolness. I think it is going to satisfy people. I think that is really going to work. I've got to say, though, as well, as always, stick around for after the credits for some of quite the oddest acting I've ever seen. Well, we won't say any more about that.
We won't say any more, but always stick around. Yeah.
Yep. All right, well, that's what we thought. As always, we love to hear what you thought, so leave your comments on our Facebook, our YouTube, Twitters, everything. We love to hear from you.
And with that, we come to the end of our Asgardian special.
Yes, but remember that next week we'll be doing another special, this time checking ourselves in for treatment to the craziest place on Earth, Arkham Asylum.
So until then, guys...
No, wait, I gotta finish the joke. So they get up in the morning, and the woman's like, that you were amazing, I gotta see you again. I don't even know your name. And he goes, I am Thor. And she says, you're Thor?